Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to the Columbus Wired Quick Hit pregame preview. I'm Andy Evans, and here we are at the Horseshoe. One final ride here at Ohio Stadium as the #2 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes, who still remain undefeated at 10-0 and 7-0 in conference play, welcome in for the 54th meeting in a 102-year history, the 5-5 Minnesota Golden Gophers, who are currently 3-4 within the conference. Now, as many of you know, I like to do a little bit of a history lesson for you guys, and this is the 54th meeting. However, it's been 102 years since the Golden Gophers and the Buckeyes first played. It was here in Columbus, and that was in 1921. However, it wasn't here because this place wasn't officially 100% constructed until 1922. Their first meeting the year before, 1921, in Old Ohio Field, and the Buckeyes came out victorious. However, interesting stat here. The Buckeyes all-time are 46-7 against Minnesota, but the Golden Gophers won 4 of the first 9 games played against Ohio State between 1922 and 1949. So if you're good at quick math, let's see, Ohio State's 46-7 all-time against Minnesota, and Minnesota won 4 of the first 9 games from 1922 to 1949. Yeah, since 1949, the Golden Gophers have won a whopping 3 times. However, their last win in 2000, Glenn Mason brought an unranked group of Golden Gophers into this stadium right here 23 years ago and pulled off a crazy 29-17 upset win. Sorry, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Over a 5th-ranked John Cooper-coached Ohio State team. But since then, Ohio State has won 11 in a row, and chances are pretty good after today it's going to be 12. Now, like I said, today is senior day. We're going to see 21 Buckeyes run out onto that field for their last game ever. Last game, because of those 21 seniors, 17 still actually have an opportunity to come back next year because of the free COVID 2020 season. But 4 of them, for sure, this is it. This is going to be the last time we are ever going to see them in an OSU uniform, at least within the confines of Ohio Stadium. Being wide receiver Xavier Johnson, quarterback Tristan Gebbia, who's 1 year here. You know, he basically came in to be a coach. That's what Ryan Day said all along. So we weren't expecting to see Tristan Gebbia play. Maybe today. Maybe we get to see him on the field, depending on how the game goes for the Buckeyes. Let's see, safety Josh Proctor, this is it. He actually was on this field for senior day. Last year he ran out of the tunnel, but they talked him into coming back for a 6th season because he had that free 2020 COVID year to spend. And Matthew Jones, offensive lineman, it will also be his last game. So those 4 Buckeyes for sure we know are done. No more. However, 17 more, like I said, have an opportunity to come back potentially and play 1 more year because of 2020, including linebackers Tommy Eichenberg, Steele Chambers, and Cody Simon, as well as tight end Cade Stover, safety Lathan Ransom, wide receiver Julian Fleming, and running back Mayan Williams, who actually has 2 more years of eligibility. All of those other guys, though, can at least come back next year for 1. Chances are probably good that a majority of them will not. Let's face it, Tommy Eichenberg, even Steele Chambers, Cade Stover, yeah, chances are good they're heading on to continue their career on Sunday afternoons. Julian Fleming, Brian Hartline was actually asked earlier in the week if indeed this was going to be Fleming's last game. He said he didn't know, but better safe than sorry, essentially. He said he would prefer to see a guy run out twice for senior day, like Josh Proctor did, rather than just not at all. and basically saying he'd rather see Julian Fleming run out today and then come back next year and run out again than not come out today and then decide he's not going to play football again, at least for the Buckeyes. So take that for what it's worth, but what can we see from both sides of the ball today? Well, here's the thing. This could be a potentially fired up Minnesota Golden Gopher team because, believe it or not, they still have an outside chance to make it to the Big Ten championship game. Now, it'd be asking a lot. It would be asking a lot. At 3-4, you're probably asking how in the world is that possible, especially with Iowa sitting in the lead at 5-2. Well, right now, Iowa and Nebraska are the two teams technically ahead of Minnesota in the Big Ten West Division standings. But if Minnesota somehow wins today, and then they can win next weekend at home against Wisconsin, and somehow Iowa loses their next two games, and then Northwestern loses to Purdue, but then beats Illinois, Minnesota is in. Now that's asking a lot. It's kind of like Lloyd Christmas, Jim Carrey in Dumb and Dumber, right? You know, when he's told there's a 1,000,000 to 1 chance, and he's emphatically, enthusiastically replied, so you're saying there's a chance? It's kind of like that with Minnesota making the Big Ten championship game. But if all of those crazy scenarios work out, Minnesota is packing their bags for Indy because, and you're probably still wondering, well, how is that possible? Well, if Iowa loses the next two games, they would be tied with Minnesota if Minnesota wins the next two games. And then it doesn't matter what Nebraska does, because even if they win the next two games, there would be a tie between Iowa, Minnesota, and Nebraska at 5-4 overall to be the Big Ten West Division champ. And Minnesota actually owns the tiebreaker head-to-head games over both Iowa and Nebraska. They had a crazy 13-10 comeback win in the season opener at home against the Cornhuskers, and then a few weeks later, they went into Iowa City and pulled off the shocker against the Hawkeyes to win 12-10, thanks to a 54-yard punt return by the Hawkeyes within the last minute of the game that was called back because of an illegal fair catch penalty, and Minnesota went on to win. So as long as all of that happens, Minnesota, welcome to your first Big Ten championship game ever. But that means they would have to win today. And that means that they would have to beat the Buckeyes. And that means that their offense and their team that has been racked with injuries are going to have to pull off a pretty shocking upset against a team right now that is on a roll and, heck, pulled a majority of their starters after the first half last weekend in that 38-3 win against Michigan State. So yeah, can the Gophers and their, let's see, 8th ranked scoring offense in the Big Ten at 22.5 points per game, and a 9th ranked total offense that is managing 318 yards per game, score against the 2nd rated defense in the country that are only allowing 9.9 points per game, as well as the 4th rated overall offense at 262 yards per game. A very tall task for the Golden Gophers. Coach PJ Fleck said he knows what his team is up against. Injuries have played a lot into this season, not going exactly the way that they've gone. He didn't use it as an excuse, but he pretty much used it as an excuse. But he knows what they're up against, even if they had been healthy today. And speaking of being healthy, of some of the guys that I just mentioned that are going to be running out onto this field, one of them, Tommy Eichenberg, still unsure at this point as to whether or not he will see the field. Good chance that Ryan Day may hold him out in anticipation of next week's game against you-know-who up in you-know-where. So it's unsure, though, if Tommy Eichenberg is going to play. Lathan Ransom definitely out. Ryan Day said, there's a chance that we could see Lathan back for the game against that team up north, but he did not make it sound like it was likely. So we're probably going to see Josh Proctor today. Sounds good that we're going to see him on the field. Expect Sonny Styles back there at the bandit position, and expect Jordan Hancock to primarily play your slot cover position. No Mike Hall today. He is out, is what we are understanding, is what we are hearing from other verified outlets and sources. But otherwise, this could be another big day for Kyle McCord, who set a number of career highs last weekend with 24 pass completions, 77% of his passes complete for 335 yards, 3 touchdown tosses. That actually tied several other games that he had career highs in. So expect the Buckeyes to come out. I actually expect Minnesota to kind of come out a little revved up. You might see them a little revved up, kind of smack Ohio State a little bit with a nice little couple of jabs. Not a knockout punch, not even a nice little stiff crossover into the jaw. But I expect them to come out with a couple nice little jabs, kind of catch Ohio State off guard. The Buckeyes, though, should recoup. And by the end of the first half, you know, let's hope to see something along the lines. I'm thinking about 28-7, and my final score in this one is Ohio State 38, Minnesota 13, which does not cover the 28-point spread. I know you guys are getting tired of hearing me be the pessimistic Peter over here. The glass is always half empty when it comes to these Buckeyes, but it's reverse psychology. Remember that. I'm always using reverse psychology on myself. So 38-13, that is my final score. Hey everybody, I appreciate you watching, and until the post-game recap, once again, I'm Andy Evans. Take care.